Today on Sports Central, we go over our next team projection of this offseason. And as you have our Coastal Carolina, a team that went 11-1 overall last season. Great season for Coastal Carolina. This was definitely a huge surprise team of last season. And whether or not this team will be just as good in 2021 or better is what we're going over here today. We're going to go over a few players that Coastal Carolina will be losing, who they'll be returning, and also looking at their schedule for the first time this offseason, starting out with your previous 6 games. And just looking at this team down the stretch, I mean, they played outstanding, and they were very consistent over the course of 2020. Ended up losing their final game of the season to Liberty there, 34-37. But otherwise, I mean, this team was very close to a perfect season, which would have been crazy for this team. I mean, Coastal Carolina really hasn't been a relevant team before, so to see them 11-1 was pretty great for them and for their program in general. This could be a huge booster for them moving forward. But they beat South Alabama here 23-6, beat Appalachian State 34-23. That was really when this team started to look for real, because Appalachian State was pretty good last year. Beat Texas State, beat BYU. That was a huge win, 22-17. Yeah, quite a matchup there between BYU and Coastal Carolina. I mean, BYU with Wilson, of course, at quarterback. That team was playing outstanding. So for Coastal Carolina to get the win there, that was quite a win for them. They beat Troy then 42-38. Also, then they lost to Liberty 34-37 once again to finish out the season. So they were 6-0 at the start in their first 6 games, and they started the season 11-0. And once again, their only loss was at the end of the season. So even though they lost their last game, once again, still an outstanding season for this team. But looking at your roster preview now, going into next season, Grayson McCall is coming back. He was their starting quarterback last year, which he played outstanding for this team. He was a huge reason why there was so much success on this team. Just looking at his touchdown-interception ratio, it explains itself. I mean, he put up 26 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions last year, which is, I mean, that's just outstanding. And he also had a 69% completion rate, which is also one of the best in the country. So, and considering he put up 2,500 yards as well of passing, I mean, yeah, he was an outstanding quarterback, and he's got a very bright future, I can guarantee you, because, I mean, he's not just a passer either. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He rushed for over 570 yards last year and 7 more touchdowns. So he had 33 total touchdowns last year, over 3 interceptions. Great season for Grayson McCall. He's got, once again, a very bright future, and I can see him definitely going pro someday. But, yeah, CJ Marable, he's coming back. Or Marble, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Or actually, no, he's going to be gone next season. He's going to be your primary loss. Definitely the toughest loss on this team going into next year, as he put up over 1,100 yards, 19 touchdowns as well. He was a huge part of the backfield there, and that's going to be, once again, quite a loss there. But it is good that you do have Reese White coming back. He was your second running back, put up just over 500 yards. So at least you've got some depth in that position. Shamari Jones, don't forget about him. So, but all around, yeah, Reese White's definitely going to have a very big workload going into next season. Your top wide receivers coming back, Javon, and then of course you got Isaiah Likely. He's also coming back. He was your tight end. Cameron Brown is coming back. He was your second wide receiver. Third wide receiver is also coming back. So you got all 4 of your top receivers last season all coming back for the most part, which is going to be outstanding. Just looking at your top one there, he put up just over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Likely put up just over 600 yards. So, I mean, all around, this offense is looking great. Like, once again, you're losing your top running back there, but otherwise, Coastal Carolina looks really good on both sides of the ball. Defensively, you did lose 3, which, I mean, that's not much of a concern for me. I'm just looking at the offense here. But, yeah, for Coastal Carolina, this is a team that is for real. Like, really, I mean, 2020, you may just think that was one good season out of them, but this team, I think, could be a contender once again going into next season. Like, just looking at your returning production here, I mean, it looks just fine for Coastal Carolina. Like, this team, chances of another outstanding season are pretty high, I'd say, for this team. Like, I'm not sure if this team will go undefeated, but, I mean, I could see this team getting 11-12 wins for sure by the end of next season. But could this team be even better in 2021 is another question here, because you got Grayson McCall coming back. This team looks really good. I mean, this team definitely could be better next season. Like, we could see them be the top Group of 5 team for sure, I think, next year. I mean, that is a great possibility for Coastal Carolina. So this team's reign is not over. Like, 2020 was a good season, but, I mean, 2021 could easily be even better for this team if they can win their games at the start and keep whatever they had going last year. Because, I mean, the rhythm that they had going last year was really doing them a lot of good. And considering you've got your star quarterback coming back, I mean, this team has got a lot of talent going into next year and a lot of potential as well. But Looking at your schedule now, of course, to start off the season against the Citadel, there you also got Kansas in your first couple of weeks, which both those teams are pretty terrible, so you should get 2 easy wins right off the bat. You got Buffalo then after that. Buffalo could be a tougher matchup there. It's on the road. I could see Buffalo also being a good team next year. I mean, they were great last year, so watch out for them. Then you got UMass, Louisiana Monroe, so you'll definitely win at least 4 games in your first 5. I mean, UMass and Louisiana Monroe were both probably the worst teams in the FBS last year. So, I mean, schedule's pretty easy for this team. The only thing that's in your way from being a national contender is your schedule. Like, I hate to say it, but I mean, I just don't think that a team like Coastal Carolina's got a ton of talent, but just your schedule is very weak. And being in the Sun Belt, of course, I mean, it just makes it really tough to be a national contender when you're in the Sun Belt. But I mean, you just got to really play well in a lot of these games. Like, you cannot have a single close game in your first 5 if you're wanting to be a national contender next year. Really in your entire schedule in general. Like, Buffalo's probably going to be, I'd say, your toughest game. I mean, Appalachian State could be a tougher one there, being on the road, but you just got to be blowing out opponent after opponent. I mean, you just got to be blowing out every single team that you play if you want to even have a chance at being top 10 or even top 5 next season. But otherwise, yeah, looking at the second half of your schedule, you got Appalachian State on the road, App State, and then you got Arkansas State. You got Troy, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Texas State, and then South Alabama. So looking at the first half here, I mean, Buffalo, I'm going to keep it as a yellow game, but otherwise, you got all green games for your first 6. Citadel, Kansas, UMass, Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State are all going to be pretty easy wins, I'd assume, unless something goes wrong there. But Buffalo's going to be a close one. As for the second half here, Appalachian State's going to be close. Troy could be close. They could be a good team next season. Georgia Southern, I'm also going to put that in a yellow game just because they were halfway decent last year as well. But Georgia State, Texas State, South Alabama, also all the wins. So you've got 8 guaranteed wins next year. You got 4 closer matchups. Those 4 in the yellow are going to be your tougher ones for next season. But otherwise, ceiling is definitely 12-0 for this team. I could easily see this team going 12-0, and the projection is going to be 11-1. But I do think 12-0 is definitely a good projection as well for this team, just because, I mean, at the level that this team was playing at last season, I mean, they got the talent to produce another outstanding year. It's just a matter of whether or not they can win their games. But, I mean, yeah, 12-0 definitely is in the reason for this team. Like, I think 12-0 is just as likely as 11-1 for this team. But your floor being the worst that you could be is 9-3. So just in case that something happens, I think 9-3 is going to be the floor of where you could be. But yeah, Coastal Carolina going to be an outstanding team next season, and that's really good for the new fan base that Coastal Carolina's got over the course of the past year. So, I mean, it's definitely great for this team, and it's great for the school in general. But that being said, that's it for this preview. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on Coastal Carolina, and I appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys all later.